From the Oklahoman Newsroom, this is an OU update. I'm Jenny Carlson here with Ryan Aber, OU beat writer. Ryan, heading into this Big 12 championship game against Baylor on Saturday. This Oklahoma team, it wasn't that long ago that they played Baylor, and yet it feels like they've really established since then a running mentality offensively. And obviously Jalen Hurts is a big part of that. But Kennedy Brooks has really become an important piece to that. What is it about Brooks that stands out to you at this point?
Well, I think the big thing that stands out is sort of what's stood out at times on the negative side about Jalen Hurts. Kennedy Brooks' ability to hold the football. This guy does not fumble. I think he's fumbled once during his 2-year Oklahoma career, hadn't fumbled at all this year. And with an offense as good as the Sooners is, the biggest way that they can let things get away from them is turning the ball over. We've seen that at times this year over the last month or so of the season. And Kennedy Brooks has been really steady and able to keep the ball in the Sooners' hands and grind it out to a really impressive average.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't put it on the ground at all, which is hard to believe, especially with his volume of carries. And yet he's a guy that, you know, early in the year, Trey Sermon was the guy, and then it really became pretty clear that Oklahoma decided, no, Kennedy Brooks is our guy. What is it beyond the not fumbling, which is obviously very important, but what is it beyond that as it relates to his running style that, you know, how has he been able to really take over that spot?
Well, Kennedy Brooks is a combination of power and speed. When you look at him, he doesn't look overly fast. Like Lincoln Riley said last year, I think the phrase he used is, it looks like he's just out walking his dog when he's running. So it looks really effortless, but he's able to put some power behind it. I mean, we saw some plays on Saturday in Bedlam that were just phenomenal with that way he was able to evade tacklers and spin out of moves. Things like that. I mean, it looked a lot like, without that just world-class speed that CeeDee Lamb has, it looked a lot like the escapability that we've seen from CeeDee Lamb at times this year.
Yeah, for sure. And very patient, too, I thought, several times, waiting on blockers.
And that's a big part of Kennedy Brooks' success, too. I mean, obviously part of it is the fact that once Trey Sermon got hurt, Kennedy Brooks was the #1 guy, and he's really grabbed a hold of that role and embraced it. But the other thing is that offensive line coming together. And especially about halftime of the Baylor game, when they took out Eric Swinson, they roll in R.J. Proctor, the graduate transfer from Virginia. They've been fantastic up front. Kennedy Brooks has had holes that those running backs earlier in the season didn't have, and he's taking advantage of seemingly every one at this point.
Lastly, let's talk about Baylor in specific. Defensively, they'll hit you. They're very physical. But Oklahoma obviously had that success, and especially in the second half down there in Waco. I assume that they're looking to do the same, but Baylor's defense is going to be a challenge.
Yeah, Baylor's front seven is the best that Oklahoma's played all year. We saw that, especially in that first half down in Waco, how they really got after Jalen Hurts and the Sooners. We'll see how different Oklahoma's offense looks against that defense with a presumably healthy CeeDee Lamb in there. He missed that last game, but it's hard to argue against what Kennedy Brooks is doing and what that offensive line is doing, and did again against Baylor for a massive chunk of that game.
All right, we'll see how it goes on Saturday morning, 11 o'clock start down in Arlington. Be sure to stay with the best coverage team anywhere at oklahoman.com and every day in the Oklahoman.